Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If your data is wrong, your scorecard will fail, no matter how good your model is. Have you thought about it? Let's prepare ourselves for the credit risk modeling interview on this topic. Stick till the end to get to know more about it. So that for today's topic, our first question is, what are the key data sources used for building an application scorecard? This question is asked by interviewer to assess your understanding of data origination and availability. They want to know if you can distinguish between internal, bureau, and a third-party data and understand what's accessible at application stage. A must-have skill for developing production-ready scorecards. So, the typical scorecards include application form data like age, income, employment, marital status, credit bureau data like credit score, existing loans, inquiries, delinquency history, internal bank data, if any, such as cross-sell or past rejections, manual remarks, third-party data like telco, utility bills, digital footprints in advanced markets. These are captured at the time of application and must be clean, legal to use and relevant to risk protection. Next question is, how do you handle missing values during data pre-processing? Here the interviewer is testing how you deal with real-world data issues. The interviewer wants to know if you can identify different type of missingness like MCAR, MAR, MNAR and apply appropriate imputation techniques while maintaining model robustness. So the steps include quantify missingness, meaning check percentage missing per variable, analyze patterns. So are missing values informative? For example, income not declared by self-employed. Imputation strategies like mean, median, mode, imputation, etc. Custom flag creation for missing category. Model-based imputation for sensitive variables. In production models like handling missing values smartly ensures robustness and avoid biases. How do you detect and treat outliers in application data? Here the interviewer wants to see if you are able to balance statistical techniques with business logic. This shows your maturity in deciding whether to cap, transform or leave outliers untouched based on their impact on model performance and interpretability. So there are several methods. First is the detection method, under which there is IQR method. Next is the Z-score or Winsorization method, box plots or visual EDA. There can be treatment options as well, like capping or flooring extreme values, transformation, flagging as separate binary indicator. It ensures that the outlier treatment is business sensible and doesn't distort the predictive power. Next is, what is weight of evidence and why is it used during pre-processing? Here the interviewer wants to evaluate your grasp on data transformation for logistic regression models. They are testing whether you understand how WOE enhances predictability, stability, and regulatory explainability, especially important for interpretable scorecards. So, WOE transforms categorical or binned continuous variables into a numerical scale that reflects to its predictive strength. The formula for WOE is logarithm of percentage of the event upon percentage of non-events. It is used because it makes variables monotonic with respect to risk, it supports logistic regression modeling, it improves interpretability and aligns with business risk intuition. Next question is, what is information value and how do you interpret it? So here the interviewer wants to see if you can quantify variable importance before modeling, because IV is essential for feature selection and this checks your ability to select good predictions and drop irrelevant ones while maintaining model passing. So IV quantifies the predictive power of a variable. Its interpretation once the IV is computed. Once the IV is computed, we can interpret it by the values. Like if the value is less than 0.02, we said that parameter is not useful. Similarly, if the value lies between 0.1 to 0.3, we can say that the value has medium predictive power. This scale is not finalized. The scale can vary from institution to institution. One can check accordingly. So Ivy helps in variable selection, guiding model developers to pick impactful predictors. So if you are enjoying my content so far, don't forget to like and subscribe my channel Risk Modeling Hub. Let's move on to the next question. How do you decide which variables to retain for modeling? How do you decide that? Here the interviewer wants to test your feature selection knowledge. This question aims to check your decision-making framework, considering factors like IV, correlation, data quality, and business interpretability, all necessary for building explainable models. So, the selection criteria includes business relevance, IV at least should be greater than 0.02, stable WE pattern should be there, which can be checked through monotonicity, multicollinearity should be low. There is a metric called VIF, which can be computed to check the multicollinearity. Acceptable missingness or outlier levels. One should have an explanation about it. No data leakage should be there. Variables must also be legally compliant, for example, avoiding gender in some geographies. Next is, how do you detect and handle data leakage during pre-processing? Here the interviewer wants to evaluate your awareness of model contamination risk. They want to know if you understand what qualifies as leakage and whether you follow data governance practices to avoid overfitting or misleading performance. So the data leakage occurs when information from the future or post application is used in training. For example, using repayment data in application scorecard, including internal comments made after underwriting. How to handle that? One can check data timestamp alignment, use only pre-application variables, cross-check with business, SMEs and process flows. Leakage leads to overstated performance and regulatory red flags. Next is, what is PSI? That is Population Stability Index, and how is it used in data validation? Here the interviewer purpose is to test if you are familiar with monitoring rules and data stability checks. PSI is critical for identifying concept drift and maintaining model relevance in production, key for model validation and governance. So the PSI measures changes in the distribution of a variable between development and out of time or production data. Once the PSI is computed using the formula given, its interpretation can be stated as follows. If PSI is less than 0.1, it is stable. If it lies between 0.1 to 0.25, it is moderate. The population has moderately shift. And if it is greater than 25%, that is 0.25, there is a significant shift in population and an action is needed. So PSI is used during model validation or monitoring to detect the data drift. Next question is, what are the challenges in using bureau data and how do you ensure data quality? The interviewer here wants to assess your understanding of data quality issues and limitations. Bureau data often contain inconsistencies or errors. This question tests if you know how to validate and clean bureau data, which is vital in ensuring model reliability. So the challenges include the inconsistencies across bureau, name matching or ID mismatches, missing or incomplete trade lines, or outdated or stale data, that is very old data. So to ensure quality, one must use unique customer IDs or PAN or Aadhaar number, perform data deduplication, validate key fields, for example total open accounts, recent delinquency, etc. So this ends our session today. If you found even one insight valuable today, imagine what mastering all parts of scorecard development could do for you. You can streamline these answers according to your experience and can then formulate in the interviews. So don't forget to subscribe, because in the next video I'll walk you through feature engineering secrets that 90% of the candidates miss in the interviews. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss out that video. See you in the next one. Thank you.